Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Hustling Sideways podcast. I'm Alan Halas. I'm a music writer.
I'm Jim Love. I'm a keynote and motivational speaker. And we don't know what episode number it is, so we're just going to throw a number out there.
We've been on this roll.
103.
Sure.
Yeah,
that might be right.
That might be right. Yeah.
We've been on this roll lately where we've been taping a bunch of episodes, and in the process, we have just lost track of what number we're on. We know that we're past 100, I think.
Yes, because 100 was...
100 was fun, right?
Blast.
That 100 that we haven't...
Yeah, that we haven't recorded, but they don't know that. Yeah, it was a blast. Yeah. It'll be good.
In the process, Jim has sustained an injury.
I have. So I'm a sprained ankle survivor, is what we decided to call it.
Yeah.
0% survival. No, 0%.
0%
survival. No, how do I want to say
100% survival
100%
rate.
Survival rate.
Yeah.
And I am not just another number, but I'm here. I was playing volleyball. I won the game, so we're clear. And on a game-winning spike, came down wrong on my ankle and splat. Not really splat.
So if you would like to donate to Jim's GoFundMe.
Yeah, I have a GoFundMe. It's up to $3 because,
I gave you that $3.
Yeah, thank you, Alan, for that.
you. Yeah.
Let's get to 5 before the show is
Yeah,
over.
let's see if you
the
can do it.
donations are live. We're going.
Smash that donate button.
But here's the thing. I'm a team player, and I showed up. I could have done this virtually. I could have, but I showed up.
You're putting the team on your back.
I'm putting the team on my back, and it really hurts because this is a big team. So we're good.
Anyway, today we have a wonderful guest on the show.
Yes, and I already forgot how to pronounce your last name, Emma, so I'm going to look it up one more time, and we're going to do it. We have, well, let me just preface this because I should. So, as you all know, Milwaukee has wonderful restaurants, wonderful bar scene, wonderful, specifically for me, Mexican food. And every now and then, I would say most weeks, we go out to a restaurant called Cafe Corazon. It's got delicious... This is, by the way, if they want to sponsor us, they're more than welcome to.
Yeah, actually.
Show, I feel like that's
we should work on that.
It's a pretty big plug.
Yeah.
Well, you're not being introduced, so you can't talk yet. But wait. I'm just kidding.
Anyway.
Great margaritas, great food, great burritos, all the things. And oftentimes we'll go sit at the bar, and there's an amazing bartender who's got an awesome story, and she just happens to be here tonight. So, Emma Calzavara, got it.
Nailed it.
Student, bartender, and equestrian.
Yeah.
Don't ask me how to spell that.
So,
but
Jim,
welcome to the show.
Yeah, welcome.
First of all,
welcome to the show.
Yeah.
Jim and I, we're both sports guys.
Yeah.
But I'm going to go ahead and say we don't know a thing about equestrian. So I'm just going to preface.
100% true. Yeah.
And just to start, we're going to try.
Yeah.
We will see.
Which is why we're going to learn.
Yes, we're going to learn a lot.
Yeah.
But before that, let's learn a little bit kind of about your backstory. Born and raised in Milwaukee?
No, but Wisconsin.
Okay.
Southern, eastern Wisconsin.
Mm-hmm.
Tiny little town. More cows than people.
Okay.
This checks out.
Yeah. Yeah. So grew up there. Spent most of my time in Wisconsin, but did a bunch of traveling for horses. So kind of bopped around between Illinois and Kentucky and Michigan and Georgia and
all the
stuff. So
wow.
all the places. Yeah.
Huge background, tons of states, lots of
of
traveling.
moving. Yeah.
Traveling for equestrian things?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
How does this start? And within your, is this a thing that you're born into that your family's doing? Doing equestrian. I don't know how you.
Kind of. So my dad is a horse trainer for a living. That's part of his job. So I grew up on a horse farm, but it's something a little different than what I do. So basically, what my dad did is take horses that were behaving badly, I would say. It's kind of like a rehab process. So most of the time, they're just not working out with who's riding them. They come to my dad's house for 60, 90 days, and then you sort of flip them around, try to help them.
Like a boarding school for horses.
I'm also imagining a bunch of really drunk horses that are just in rehab trying to figure out
that's
sobriety.
exactly it. Yeah.
That's what I'm when I hear rehab, that's what I'm thinking.
We're off to a great start.
Yeah, good. Okay.
So my dad does that. So I grew up, I think my first birthday present, I got a pony named Henry.
Oh my gosh. So cool.
Yeah. So horses forever. But then when I was little, I don't remember what Olympics it was, but I saw the Olympics on TV, and there's 3 horse sports in the Olympics.
Mm-hmm.
One of them is show jumping, and I saw it and I was like, I want to do that. And then my parents made it happen, and then that kind of was the beginning of it, and I just never stopped.
So the first question for me, of many bad questions, is where do you go? How accessible is equestrian? I don't even know what they're called. Equestrian fields, right? Equestrian courses.
So most of it for us is inside.
Okay.
So very accessible. Specifically, Chicago area, huge hub for horses.
Huh.
Kind of wherever there's money, there's horses.
Sure.
Typically is kind of what you look for. I think people think that like most of the time you have like lots of land and things like that.
Right.
Not really the case. Our horses don't like go outside like that really.
Yeah,
They do get turned out, but it's a little bit more contained because they're expensive. You're putting a lot of money into this, so you don't want them to hurt themselves. But a lot more accessible location wise than you would think.
Okay.
I could name off probably like 40 barns within an hour of here.
Wow. I would have never guessed. And
Yeah.
for those that listen from afar, we're in Milwaukee.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
like within an hour, that's
within an hour is there's I
Yeah.
mean there's some rural areas, but there's not.
Yeah.
We're in a city, so I'm still like, wow, okay.
Yeah.
So
Super accessible.
wow.
The thing that makes it inaccessible is just how expensive it is as a sport. I think like in the beginnings of it, you can make it relatively easy, but once you get into like being competitive, it gets outrageous.
Pricey, yeah.
Outrageous.
Yeah. Sure.
As a, you know.
That's a good
Yeah.
way.
Yeah.
And forgive me, how young were you starting to like learn how to jump?
So I would say like we started like pretty consistently taking like serious lessons when I was 5.
Okay.
We started horse showing when I was like 6-ish.
Wow.
Yeah, so early.
Do you like, was there ever like a fear for you doing this?
No.
You just walked right in
No.
and that's really cool.
I think as I gotten older, I've gotten a little bit more scared.
Okay.
Mostly just because sometimes you get like absolutely destroyed. Like
and I guess when you're a kid, you're like, oh, this is cool.
You're just like you bounce off the ground and you're like, that was hilarious.
Yeah. Have you ever gotten like lit up? Like,
Oh, so bad.
Oh, wow.
So bad.
What kind of
so
injuries
bad.
have you had like from that?
Sprained ankle, obviously.
Yeah,
No.
well, they can't get that bad. I imagine.
Survivor, smash that
Yeah,
donut.
so I broke my back.
Oh.
And
okay.
a lot of people that I know have too. I've had some pretty serious concussions. I've gotten kicked in the face a couple of times. My nose has been busted. I broke my elbow, broke my foot.
I could see why you would get more and more afraid.
My fingers and toes. Like, you get pretty... they do you some damage.
I grew up skateboarding. I have not been anywhere near as injured
Yeah.
as equestrian.
Yeah.
Now I know equestrian's pretty hardcore.
Yeah.
I was not prepared. I was like, okay, falling off a horse obviously gotta hurt.
that would
I'm
be
sure
awful,
people get
right.
really, really hurt
Yeah.
doing it.
Yeah.
What was the first injury? Not to go dark, but I mean, we're here now.
Gosh, I don't know. The first like one that I really remember that was, well, the first bad one was my elbow when I was in 2nd grade.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it was funny because I had just gotten out of a cast from breaking my wrist, and I think I was out of a cast for like 2 weeks. And then I broke my elbow and was right back in one.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. That was a good one. And then like the good one that was like, oh, this one sucks, is the first day of my freshman year of high school. I was cleaning horses, like bathing them for a thing that my dad does that I think I talked to you about a little bit, but we'll talk about later. And we had a dog that used to like to chase water, and she came flying up when I was bathing him and grabbed the horse by that leg on accident, and he kicked me like straight in the face.
Oh my God.
But he had like steel studs in because we were going on concrete, so they're like spiky and just like shredded my face.
So you got a horseshoe to the face.
Yeah, horseshoe to the face. And my mom, like, I like go inside and I was like, oh my God, look at it. And she's like, here's a bag of peas. Go clean the rest of the horses.
Oh my God.
I love it. And you got some dirt, you
Yeah,
rub it on, you're all
pretty
set. You're all set.
Yeah.
Were like kids that you were growing up with all in this same lifestyle, or were you atypical for where you were at and like being like, why are we doing this versus everyone else?
So I think that like if you're the kids that I grew up riding with, all the same. We all like that's essentially becomes your entire life. The kids that I grew up with that were like friends from school, some of them had horses. It's very different. It was like you go to a friend's house, you get picked up at 6 a.m. to go do horse stuff in the morning. You know,
so
there was
6
no
a.m. every day.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
That's commitment.
Oh yeah.
That is commitment. With being injured as a kid and going to school injured and things like that, did ever like, because I've heard about this with like young skateboarders, have like Was there ever like people concerned about your parents because they were like, oh, she was just in a wrist cast, now her elbow's broken?
Actually, the second time I went to the hospital, they called CPS on my parents.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I totally
that's a good question.
that.
That's, and but you're still with them. You're good.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like that whole process of having to explain, like, like she rides horses.
Yeah, like sometimes the horse in. This is the horse that did it.
Yeah.
This is the one.
Yeah. It was
prove it.
It was this one right here, officer. Wow,
that's crazy.
So when did you kind of get into the competitive nature of this and like doing this? I'm sure there's prize money involved.
No.
Okay.
I mean, there sort of is, but realistically, the money goes to like the horse showing fees, so you really don't ever come out with money unless you're like winning the huge horse shows.
Okay.
But I started showing for my first like family really consistently, like in the summers. I was there all the time when I was like 6 or 7.
Oh wow! So
it was right
around
away.
when you're breaking elbows and wrists. You're out there showing and presenting for horses or whatever, showing horses.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Like, was that the plan? Like, was there ever a talk with your family about like, okay, you're gonna do this and like it'll help pay for some of this, or was it just kind of like this is the natural progression of what to do? So
I was very lucky that the people that helped me essentially paid for everything for me. They're a very wealthy family, so they paid for everything. That was not an issue. All of my training, all of my horse showing, all of the ponies that I was riding, all free.
Nice.
Which is very lucky for me. That is not the case.
Yeah.
But I think because the way that my dad ran his farm, there was absolutely an expectation that we rode horses for my dad for work.
Okay.
But not necessarily, I didn't have to horse show. I didn't have to do anything specifically, but I had to do horses at my dad's house.
Okay.
Just to help.
How did you get connected with that family? What's that like?
So my dad, they have a farm in Illinois. They had started breeding some young thoroughbreds. So my dad was going to help them start a couple of the young thoroughbreds, and then they'd gotten kind of close, and then that's sort of just how that ended. And we're all still close. She came to my wedding. They're like,
that's awesome.
We're all very, very close. So it's still like a great relationship.
At your wedding, by chance?
It was in the backyard.
Awesome.
Actually, what's funny is I have a pet cow named Marcy, and like in the wedding photos, you can see Marcy just like staring at all of us.
Like, hey, what's going on here?
I'm thinking like a ring bear.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I was totally. I was like, what kind of cartoon wedding do you think this is? Where like the horse like flips a horseshoe and it's got a ring on it. And...
Is this something like and I'm asking this in the sense of like sometimes I forget that I even do a side hustle because it's so a part of me. Like, do you forget that you like have this whole background, or like is it so ingrained in what you do that like it doesn't come up that often, or
it seems really normal to me, and I also tend to not bring it up because you get like mixed reactions about how people feel about things. Mostly they're like, it's just 10 million questions about things that are like not maybe the right questions usually.
So this.
Exactly.
That's a really weird way to describe it. I'm kidding.
But and some people get upset at you, like legitimately upset about the horse thing, which I get. But
but everything is. I mean, they're treated well. Everybody,
Right.
Yeah.
Now the owners are the ones that are getting kicked in the face, not the
right. Yeah. Very, very cool. I cannot imagine the amount of commitment though to like not only get hurt, but then every morning to still get back up and go do the next, just have to get back at it too. On top of that, was managing school, I'm sure had to be difficult, especially like high school, college, things like that. Well, while still trying to keep this going, right?
Yeah, high school specifically was super hard. Because I was riding full time and in school full time.
Okay.
So like my high school was like get up 4 a.m., work horses at my dad's house, go to school, go to work, ride horses, come home, ride my personal horses.
No.
So it was like a 4 a.m. to like 11 p.m. sort of days, like over and over and over.
And no sleep because there's no time for that in between.
Yeah. So high school was pretty crazy. College, I honestly was able to like get my schedule so figured out at the beginning, but I actually did end up dropping out of college the first time.
Okay.
For a riding job.
Okay.
Yeah.
To pursue just riding full time.
Because you travel, and so I couldn't be traveling
and taking courses.
And taking in-person courses, so it just wasn't going to work out.
And that'd have been probably pre-pandemic then, or like right around then.
Yep.
That okay.
Actually, the horse world didn't really get affected by a pandemic too much.
Oh, sure.
Because we're outside.
And then there's a lot of space.
Exactly. So you're in like
mask.
Yeah. So like we had to wear the masks up to the show ring, and then that was kind of it, which was very nice. The only thing that changed is really like nobody could come watch.
Yeah.
But
that makes sense.
Most of us on our pro days
to leave like after your first semester, was that a hard decision to make and go, you know, like and drop out and go do your thing, or was that like I should do this? This is where my heart is.
No, it was a super easy decision.
Cool.
I had been begging my parents to let me not go to college.
Yeah.
That worked out.
So do I look back on it now and go that was a mistake? Yes, but you know, it worked out.
That's how it goes.
But you had the experience of it too, right?
For
like
sure.
there's that's also like real world experience. There's something in
you
know, we've talked about like a lot of people with side hustles on the show where it all just kind of, you know, whatever they did in high school and whatever they did in college and whatever they did on the side and whatever they did with their work all just kind of blends together.
Yeah.
So like while you might have not gotten the like traditional college experience at first, like there's also you had the real world experience of like how do we make this work and make this a full-time thing, and traveling is not cheap,
right?
And traveling with a horse, I cannot imagine
so much
you have
not
to
cheaper.
like you do travel with the same horse to every contest, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And
so if I switch into the service industry, when did that start coming into your life, and you know, when did you decide to begin pursuing
when
that?
I moved up here with Sam.
Okay.
Because I still ride up here. There's a farm that I ride in, like west of here, but I think I just needed a break. As much as like I love it and I had a really great time, it's a really seriously hard lifestyle. I think I didn't get a single day off for 7 months straight.
Oh my goodness.
And it's like, you know, you're up at 3 o'clock in the morning and falling asleep at 11, 12 o'clock at night. So it's like you just get beat up.
Oh, yeah.
So I think I needed a break for a little bit. And it's been a nice adjustment. But yeah, like really at that point.
Yeah.
What was fully understandable, right?
Yeah.
What was the first week like of not having that schedule?
I don't think that I got out of bed for like 2 weeks.
Yeah, 73 hours.
Honestly,
Good
well
call.
played.
Yeah. I was like, I'm gonna clean the house.
This is what it looks
do
like.
some laundry, like
Were you just like constantly behind on everything?
Everything.
That's
Literally
man, that's
everything.
me now.
That's
so
true.
you know, like, and I'm not up at I'm up at 4.
Yeah, you are up.
But yeah, that's me most of the time.
Yeah, and not having like a Saturday to like just sit down.
Yeah, because we used
chill.
to. The schedule is typically like 1 day off a week.
Mm-hmm.
And then 7 to 7. But I was living in Milwaukee and then driving really far, so I was like driving an hour and a half each way.
Sure.
And so I'd get like 1 day off, and you know, you're tired, so I'd be like, okay, I'm gonna sleep until like 10 o'clock, and then I'm like, well, shit, my whole day's gone.
There
You
it
know, I
goes.
have
That's
to like
the
go
thing.
grocery shopping and stuff.
Right.
And then by the time you know it, it's like dinner time. It's like, okay, guess that's it.
Well, there's also that added pressure of like, I got to get to the stable by this time in order to make it worth my while.
Yeah.
Right? So that means you have to be up by this. You got to
Yeah.
hope that the car is reliable for the day.
Yeah.
Totally been there, done that. With you remember my old car.
Yeah. And how you started your side hustle is because your car broke down. That was like the genesis of you getting involved.
Yeah.
So
I actually didn't think about that.
I did.
Yes.
Well, there you go. Funny how
I used
that
to have
works.
a
Yeah, I thought that's
96
what you were referring
Oldsmobile.
to when you were like,
No.
But his Oldsmobile was like a piece of junk, and I used to drive it to basketball games.
Yeah, that's a really good affectionate way to put it. Was that as a piece of junk?
It was a beautiful piece of junk. But what did you want me to call it?
No,
A nice
I
car?
agree. It was a piece of shit car.
And we would pile like 20 people in there, and Alan would DD us into downtown and DD us right back home, and he was a hero.
sounds
Still is. That's
Yeah.
how that works.
Yeah.
Thank you for
But
that. That's great.
So like, but anyway, back to Equestrian, and then there's that added pressure of like it's just time consuming, and that
Yeah.
I think is the biggest thing. I'm sure.
Yeah.
As far as like learning how to do it and getting better and competing, do the obstacles, I would assume, get bigger? I would assume the horses get bigger as you get older. Like,
Actually, surprisingly, no.
so do you start on like a full size horse or like a medium
Some
sized
people
horse?
do. I obviously
You were
actually
young, yeah.
I was young, so I started out on ponies, but my like first horse that I rode all of the time was huge.
Okay.
Just gigantic, named Teddy, sweetest thing that can be.
That's a
It's
great
really
horse name.
mostly about their temperament, you know. I mean,
Sure.
and honestly, ponies can be little jerks. They are like devils. So usually you put kids on like smaller horses that are older. They're
Okay.
chill,
Yeah.
and they hang out and they do about nothing. And
Sure.
most of the
Yeah.
time you're trying to get them to go faster, and you're like chasing them around to go faster. But that's really what you do.
Yeah, because a pony's like a puppy, right? I mean, it was just like, you know, it's like a very young, like that.
No, ponies are full grown. They're actually completely different than horses.
Oh,
They're just like
okay.
think like regular working poodle
Yeah.
and like those little mini poodles.
Okay.
Sort of similar,
Sure.
relatively different.
I see. Okay.
Ponies just tend to be a little smarter,
Yeah.
to be a little naughtier.
yeah.
Okay.
It's a dangerous combo.
They're my favorite. I love them. I'm so lucky that I'm so short and I can still ride them. It's like my favorite
It
thing.
works out.
But actually, they've kind of gotten really into, they've sort of started like really perfecting sport horse breeding. They used to go really big because the
Okay.
jumps got bigger, the horses would get bigger.
Yeah.
But with bigger, typically you can't go faster.
Sure.
So now they've gotten into like very sporty, sort of super compact, small horses that are fast because they can turn really fast.
The sports car of
Yeah.
The
horses.
little
Yeah, that's
Porsche
right.
of horses. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, okay. And then you're jumping fences. You jump water too, right? Or no? Is
You
that
jump
just the Olympics?
over water?
Yeah.
Not through water. There's
Yeah.
other sports that do jump through water.
Okay.
But we do not. We jump
Okay.
over it.
My
Yeah.
limited exposure to this is
Yeah.
probably like the Olympics
Yeah.
and like when you're flipping through the
Every
channels
now
and
and
it's
then.
deep in the
Yeah.
sports channel
Yeah.
package for me.
Yeah.
I know that there was dressage,
Yep.
which is that's the one that Snoop
Yeah.
Dogg was commentating
Yes.
on.
Oh, there you go.
Probably
Someone
the
watched.
biggest, the biggest pop for dressage. Was there ever consideration to not do the equestrian part and maybe do that or like something else with horses?
Yes.
I don't want to say racing, but
No,
maybe
well,
racing.
so my dad raced horses or trained horses on the racetrack for a while, so I did that. That is really scary. Was not my thing.
Sure.
You're going really fast. You're
Wait,
going
you
like
were in a horse race and like
not in it, but we were training young horses, so we
Okay.
were galloping with other young horses.
Sure.
We were going like 45 miles an hour.
Oh
I was
my
gonna
gosh.
say, yeah, no,
Yeah,
it's,
that's
Scary.
it
terrifying.
looks,
Yeah.
it looks like a first-person
Yeah.
terrifying
Yeah,
thing. Like
it's
you
a
see it
little
on
scary.
TV and you're like, they're going fast.
Yeah.
But then when you see, I can't even imagine. I don't see the POV of like
Yeah.
being on the horse. That
Yeah.
seems terrifying.
Yeah, that's a little scary.
Okay.
I did some eventing stuff, which is also in the Olympics. It's like a 3 thing, so it's the combination of dressage, show jumping, what I did, and then cross country, which is really like training for cavalry type of thing.
Okay.
Also super fun. Loved it. Got to a point where the jumps are big enough that you start getting enough accidents where horses are like regularly dying.
Oh, sure. Because
so are
once they're
people.
hurt, it's kind of
Yeah, they do this thing. So you're going really fast and you're jumping these things that don't move because they're supposed to be like
barriers.
yeah, like you're jumping logs out in the woods or whatever, but they're 4 feet tall and 13 feet wide and you're hitting them at 30 miles an hour.
Gosh.
Yeah.
You do this thing called rotational fall. It's killed a lot of people. It's killed a lot of horses because they break their necks.
Okay.
And I was just like, I don't want a part of it.
Yeah.
We've had a couple family friends that have had like really bad injuries where they're not around or disabled.
Sure.
So I was just like, I don't want to do that really.
Yeah,
You know,
tremendous risk.
I can imagine I would
Yeah.
shy
Yeah.
away from that too. Yeah.
Okay.
So this sort of just like kind of fell in line. It was what I started with. It's still fast and fun and kind of scary, but relatively safe and
Yeah.
in control
A
and
little happy medium. I
yeah,
like
it's
that.
a good happy medium. You
I
have
was
fun.
gonna say, it sounds like
you're
an
not
adrenaline
terrified.
rush still.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like just
Yeah.
the amount of risk that goes into everything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What is there like a regular season kind of thing for you during the year where like is it, February through I don't know, October, November, or do you get months to practice in between, or is it like
So
24 or
it's
365?
dependent on how you want to run your schedule.
Okay.
There is essentially a horse show every single weekend of the year.
Wow.
So you could show every single week. You could show multiple horse shows every single week.
Wow.
There is though, like in this area, obviously it's not always nice out, so you can go inside. There are a couple inside horse shows, but there is a whole like group of horse shows called indoors.
Okay.
Which is on the East Coast. So you can do that as like a season and then move away to the like Midwest area to do outdoor season. You
Sure.
can go to Florida to be outside in the winter. It just kind of depends on how you want to run your schedule.
Wow.
But there is an option to horse show essentially every single day of the year.
How many other sport that's so unique
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
this?
Yeah.
Like
The
there's
NBA
always
is already
a
complaining
season.
about an 82
right?
game schedule. So
I mean, to
Yeah.
just have that much interest in it, where someone's always going to be there every weekend is
If
pretty
you
incredible.
are one of the top riders, you are horse showing multiple different horse shows in multiple different countries most weeks.
in different countries.
Yeah. If you're on like the big tours,
Yeah.
you're just traveling from country to
time.
country to country, and most of the time you can't horse show the same horses, so you just fly from one and you have teams of people.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
they're
Life.
ready with a different horse for
Yep.
you. Okay. What's the furthest that you've traveled for a show?
The furthest, I'm guessing mileage would be like Florida or New York.
Okay.
We have been to Europe though for horses, just not horse showing in Europe.
Okay.
But yeah, Florida or New York. I've done really nothing out west.
Okay.
That's interesting. Yeah, I would think that would be like
It's kind of a whole different scene out there.
Okay.
They almost can't really keep up with the East Coast. It's just a little different.
Okay.
But most people, if you're like really wanting to be competitive, you would come from West Coast to East Coast.
Sure. Classic
That makes
East
sense.
Coast, West Coast beef joke.
Yeah.
Classic
Hate 'em.
Biggie and Tupac.
That's
East
it.
Coast horse,
Yeah.
West Coast horse. I'm telling you, it's always gonna be that way. It's always gonna be that way. No. So traveling with that, I mean, you've got a trailer that you're hauling to Florida and to the East Coast and all of that.
That's all a drive, right?
Yeah.
You can't like fly and do this because you got.
You can. So when I was working for that family before, again, very luckily, we would fly private to the horse shows and then ship the horses professionally.
Okay.
When I was doing stuff later on, we were hauling all of our
Got
own
it.
horses.
So that was the
Yeah.
Bezos family, I assume that you
up there. They're up there.
That's really
Yeah.
cool.
I'm jealous.
Yeah,
But I mean,
right.
still, like, traveling, that still also is another thing that, like, takes a toll and has a
Yeah.
wear on your body, too, to travel for hours and hours in a car and then
Yeah.
get out and have to ride on
Yeah.
top of that.
Yeah.
Pretend like you're like, I'm ready, I'm excited.
Well, like,
And
I
traveling
think,
all day.
okay, this is a dumb example, but I think, like football teams, when they got to travel, cross country,
Yeah.
everyone's like, oh, yeah, they got to adapt to, is the Miami team going to adapt to playing at Lambeau here in Green
right,
Bay?
right.
Like, so
Yeah.
is there a period when you get out where, like, the horse has to adapt to their climate,
horse
their,
does it
their
too.
surroundings and everything? Practice?
Yeah. That's actually a huge thing when they think about like horses traveling for those big horse shows like at the Olympics, anything like on the Longines tour. You usually get there a month early.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
And that's for the horse? That's goodness.
Yeah.
Well, it's not for you.
Well, like not the human. Right?
I know.
It's-
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
We don't do that as much with the horses that are like horse showing regularly. And typically in America, you're going from one horse show to the next. So they get a little bit more used to it.
Okay.
Some horses take a little bit longer to get acclimated. Some horses are like, yeah, whatever, I don't care.
Sure.
Did they tell you that?
So pretty much.
I'll let you know. I would
Yeah.
say, like, honestly, they probably let you know.
They're smart.
You
yeah,
do
they'll-
have you figure them out, and you sort of the part of the like fun part of horse showing is figuring out the prep to get them into
Oh,
the ring.
sure.
Like what do
And
we have
it's-
to do in the morning? What
Yeah.
do we have to?
It's more
So
subjective than maybe I would have thought too.
they're all like very different, you know. So they all have like really quirky, weird personalities and things that irritate them, and ways they like to be warmed up, and so it's just sort of like figuring out that puzzle of like how do we get them interested in working.
Yeah,
It takes a while. It's like a relationship you have to have with the horse.
A total business partnership that you figure out how to.
Then you realize like why, you know, like horse races are so popular. Like people like follow these horses, like they're into it, you know, and like it's like a family thing, you know.
For sure. I mean, like we have a bunch of young horses that I haven't touched in years, and I still track all of the horse shows that they go to. I contact their owners all the time because you get like really attached to them.
Yeah.
You know?
Now, if I was a horse betting guy, could you like help me out with?
I don't think you can bet on equestrian. I don't know.
Fine.
I don't know. Actually, let me check these apps out.
Let's look at the ads.
Yeah, there's like ranking systems and things like that. But yeah,
that's
great. You're gonna find Jim and I at the casino.
It'll just be like Saturday night, 3
in the morning.
Yeah, we're just going on our phone.
Emma
sent equipment. This is the one.
He jumped over 3 horses, or over three gates. Yeah. Over on 3 gates.
This one walked on water. That's it.
Yeah. You know, that we're hallucinating at 3 in the morning. At that point.
Is wild. So I guess speaking of hallucinating at 3 in the morning, the transition of the century. So your bartending life, right, is you know, you've been doing that. What have been some of the unique late night experiences you've had?
Oh yeah,
bartending.
Okay. So
what's easier to contain,
story.
A drunk person or
a horse?
Oh yeah. Usually the drunk people are harder, I have to be honest.
Yeah.
Talking about the drunk people being harder. Okay, so this is your favorite story of all time.
Yeah.
Okay, so I worked at a bar. Can I say?
Yeah, you can say whatever
so
you
I
want.
worked at this bar called Bryant's, the cocktail
I know
lounge.
Bryant's, yeah.
Okay, so like you know that place. It's relatively like.
It's a cocktail bar.
It's a cocktail bar.
Like,
you
nice.
dress up a little bit.
Yeah.
I didn't usually see people in like sweatpants or whatever.
I'm
it's
not
somewhere
welcome
that
at Bryant's. Is the moral of the story.
you're gonna spend a little bit of money. You go there, right? So we typically saw a specific group of people, right?
Yeah.
And I say this with no judgment, no whatever.
Sure.
It's just like sometimes, you know, you see people do things in public and you're like, wow, this is amazing. So this couple comes in and they like sit at the bar and, you know, like just the way she dresses is maybe not the way that I dress. She has like little ear things on, you know, like whatever, like a little headband with like the fake ears.
Because they're cat ears, kind of, or whatever. Yeah, okay.
Like pointy ears, right?
Sure.
They're not apparently cat ears. They are apparently dog ears. We learn later, but
okay.
So they order drinks. They're a little odd, just in the sort of like clearly introverted, a little uncomfortable, like
something's off.
People.
Yeah.
And so like we're all just kind of like experiencing this together, all of the bartenders and servers and stuff, and she goes, would you be upset if we did something strange? And like,
well, that's a leading question.
I know, that's great. Yeah.
And like, we were like, I mean, not really, right? Like,
were they the only people in the bar at this point?
No, full bar. Okay. It is a Friday night at like 8:00, full bar.
Okay.
Okay. So yeah, everybody very busy, probably a line out the door.
Yeah. Sure. So something strange.
So it's strange, right? And they had already ordered their drinks, and she like grabs out of her bag like a silver metal dog water bowl.
I was gonna say I have a strange feeling I know where this is going.
And goes, "Can you please serve me the drink in said bowl?"
Okay.
And that's kind of exactly how everyone else we were like, yeah,
I could do
I
that.
guess.
Technically,
yes.
I could.
Is it clean?
Yeah.
You know, like, is it clean? I won't clean it, but yeah. Fully fucking drank out of that thing with her hands like behind her back.
Okay.
Like how Rocky does it.
Yeah, exactly how my dog.
Yeah, how your dog does it.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
One, don't associate my dog with that ever again, because now the visual.
You're never gonna not see it.
I know I'm never gonna not see it.
Yeah.
What were reactions?
Kind of literally all of us were doing the same thing, like.
Oh my god, this
And
is
like
real life.
it's happening, and then like people sort of, you could see people sort of like inching their
Starting
little.
to move.
Yeah, totally. Like, what do you do if you're like the person next to that?
They're like lapping it up. They make a mess, you know. What are you getting?
Yeah.
My drink all over the bar.
But then,
How
like-
long did it take her to finish this? Because like that's just like
They're
if-
there for a decent amount of
yeah,
time.
for one
yeah.
drink when you're
yeah,
you
man.
know,
The bottom of the bowl probably